The story begins in an abandoned factory where a gang had tied Jiaoyong above a cage full of zombies. The gang leader said all his friends were dead, and there was no reason for him to stay alive. To Jiaoyong, however, none of it was his fault but hers, and he thought with hatred that the woman deserved a horrible death. She meanwhile clung to a large man, mocking him and saying he was threatening her again, while also claiming they could torture him as much as they wanted, even thanking him for the supplies he had stored in the base they had raided, since those supplies would let them live for a few more months. Soon after, they threw Xiong into the zombie cage. Tied up, he couldn't defend himself and was brutally attacked by the horde. Amid the horror, Xiong swore to himself that if he had another chance, he would kill Qiuqing no matter what it cost. Suddenly, he woke up with a start, sweating on his couch at home. It had only been a nightmare. At that moment, Kuai Jing appeared, demanding to know why her name still wasn't on the property deed, implying he didn't really love her. Xiong was confused, trying to understand what was happening, horrified to realize he was back before the apocalypse. He remembered that grim future very well. During the nightmare, Kuai Jing had deceived him, pretending to be desperate to gain his trust, and then betraying him, letting enemies invade his base. Because of her, he had lost everything, ended up on the streets, and had to survive amid the zombie apocalypse. When the world collapsed, he met real friends he survived with. But he never forgot Kuai Jing's betrayal. Now, back in the past, he saw Qiuqing still complaining, wanting her share of the property. Xiong thought with contempt that she was the same despicable person in any version of the future. He decided he couldn't act impulsively this time. Qiuqing gave him an ultimatum of 1 week to sort everything out, but he simply pushed her out of the apartment, promising he would take care of it. Then he slammed the door in her face. Outside, Qiuqing couldn't believe what had just happened. She wondered why he was treating her like that, since she was sure she had him completely under control like a servant. But now Xiong was fully aware of who she was, and what would happen in the future. Looking at the clock, Xiong realized there was only 1 month left until the global catastrophe that would turn everything into a nightmare. He decided he would start preparing immediately. However, something unexpected appeared before him. A system window like in a game. He realized the apocalypse system had been activated. The system listed tasks he needed to complete as quickly as possible. The first of which was preparation for the apocalypse. For that he would need to acquire land and stock enough resources to survive for a year. The reward for this initial mission would be 10 points, which could be exchanged for items in the system shop. Exploring the shop, Xiong saw that for 20 points, he could buy a physical enhancement potion. For 2 points, a level 1 survival kit, and for 10 points, a level 1 protagonist box. He could hardly believe what he was seeing, but was determined to take advantage of this chance. He also reflected on his life before the apocalypse, which had been wasteful and irresponsible. He knew that in just a month the zombies would appear, and that he had little time to act. He decided to allow himself one last luxury and went out to eat at an expensive restaurant. He ordered sophisticated dishes he had never tried before, savoring everything with pleasure and devouring the meal as if it were the last time he could live like a normal person. While eating, he received a call on his cell phone. It was Shuya Kuei-jing's friend and his supposed girlfriend. Xiong immediately guessed Kuei-jing had been whining to her. Answering the call, he heard Shuya screaming and demanding an explanation for why Kuei-jing's name wasn't on the property, saying it was just a test he had failed, and ordering him to transfer $1 million to Kuei-jing's account and to get on his knees to apologize or get ready for the breakup. Xiong just thought how ridiculous it all was, and hung up on her. He knew he didn't have time to waste on them and needed to focus on the mission ahead. His first priority was to acquire a piece of land where he could build a secure fortress against zombies and other humans. Later, he went to a real estate agency to deal with it. When he got there, the receptionist asked if he wanted to buy or rent a house, but Xiong replied it was neither. The manager, noticing the way he was dressed, called the receptionist inside, telling her to go restock products, saying she hadn't learned anything in the last few days. He claimed Xiong wasn't a real customer because he was wearing simple clothes and that she was wasting time. The manager mocked that with Xiong's status, he wouldn't even be able to rent a bathroom, and promised he would eat feces if Xiong actually had money to buy a house. Xiong remained calm, saying he would give him something nice and fresh to eat later. Then he explained he wasn't there to rent, sell, or buy a normal house, but to buy land. When he showed his black card, everyone was shocked by his buying power. The receptionist quickly returned to help him, asking him to follow her for a detailed presentation of the available land plots. Meanwhile, the manager insisted Xiong just wanted to show off, doubting he really had money. Even so, she showed him a catalog with various land options, highlighting locations, features, strengths, and weaknesses, so he could carefully choose where to start preparing to survive the apocalypse. Xiong said he didn't need further explanations and asked the agent to just list all the land options that matched what he wanted. He specified that he needed land near mountains and water, preferably with a river, with convenient transportation, and good enough even to build a factory. Manager Zhu interrupted the agent, saying those requirements matched exactly with the plots in the Eastern District. But the woman argued that was impossible because there were only unfinished, abandoned factories there with no apparent solution, making it impossible to sell them to any serious customer. Manager Zhu went back to belittling Xiong, saying he was just making trouble with absurd demands and had no intention of buying anything. But Xiong, serious, asked if the Eastern District really met the requirements. The agent confirmed it, further explaining that all the constructions there were unfinished factories with unresolved structures. Xiong carefully analyzed everything and realized that in fact that place was perfect for him. The location was excellent, easy to defend, and hard to invade. Besides, having a factory already started meant saving a lot of money, since he would only need to finish the construction instead of building everything from scratch. Decided, he said he would take that land, and asked if he could sign the contract and pay immediately. The agent, a bit confused, said yes, of course, but was startled when she realized he was serious about buying an unfinished factory. Meanwhile, Manager Zhu laughed, saying it was impossible because the deposit amount was extremely high. He didn't believe Xiong had that kind of money. When Xiao Yong showed his black card and confirmed the payment, the whole place was shocked. Xiao Yong made it clear he was in a hurry to sign the contract, and even commented that he needed to leave soon because there was someone waiting to eat something nice and fresh. Right after, Manager Zhu started to panic because Xiao Yong had really paid the 30 million required for the land. Everyone at the agency began pressuring Manager Zhu to keep his promise to eat feces if Xiao Yong had the money, and they even started recording the scene while he was desperate. Xiao Yong, for his part, felt relieved to have completed the first requirement of his mission, securing territory to prepare for the apocalypse. Even though he reflected that he had spent a lot of money, he knew he needed to get more to stock supplies. Meanwhile, Zhu Xiang showed up at the agency and saw the commotion, asking what was happening. When he entered, he noticed everyone was actually forcing Manager Zhu to fulfill the humiliating promise, something he found bizarre. On the other side of the city, Qiu Jing was at home, busy with her useless things, until she received a call from Su Chong himself. He asked if she knew that Su Chong had gone to the agency to buy a piece of land. She was in shock and wanted to know how he had gotten so much money. Su Chong explained that he had deposited 30 million, probably using the money he had saved for their engagement. Qiu Jing was furious, convinced that he had used her money to buy the land. Jik Xiong tried to calm her down, suggesting she go talk to Xiao Yong to understand the situation, but she refused, saying he was rebelling against her and that she would expose him on the internet that very day. Meanwhile, Xiao Yong was already at home, calmly thinking about the next steps. He knew he needed more money to buy all the supplies necessary to survive for a year. Suddenly, he heard loud, furious knocks on the door. It was Qiu Jing and Suya, her friend. Qiu Jing demanded an explanation, asking how he had dared to spend her money to buy that land. Xiao Yong, irritated, corrected her, saying the money was his, not hers, and that he wouldn't spend another cent on her. He even mocked that she could ask Xiao Yong for help, since they were so close. Qiu Jing was confused, wondering how he knew about their affair, while Suya tried to smooth things over, saying it must be a misunderstanding. Xiao Yong made it clear that there was no misunderstanding at all, that he and Qiu Jing had never really been a couple, and that nothing of his had ever belonged to her. Without giving them any more chance to argue, he shut the door in their faces. In the hallway, Qiu Jing stood in shock, trying to understand how he could know about her secret relationship with Su Xiang as she took the elevator down. Su Xiang, trying to console her friend, asked if it was true she was seeing Su Xiang. Qiu Jing confirmed, saying they had already met several times. Suya, however, was not such a good friend. She silently thought that this fight between Xiao Yong and Qiu Jing was the perfect opportunity to get closer to him. She planned to take advantage of the situation to win over Xiao Yong his money and even the land he had bought. Later, Xiao Yong was already at his new property checking the plans. He had hired a contractor to finish building the unfinished factory, but wanted to turn it into a real fortress. He was talking with the engineer about the list of renovations, demanding reinforced walls, guard towers, barbed wire, thicker blast-resistant steel doors, and bulletproof glass. The engineer, curious, asked why he wanted all of that. Xiao Yong got straight to the point, saying not to ask too many questions. He only wanted to know if the project could be ready in a month. The engineer replied that it was practically impossible without much more money and extra labor. Xiao Yong, firm, said he knew they could find a way and that he was willing to pay more to speed up the process. The engineer explained that for that they would need at least another $20 million with $5 million paid up front. Xiao Yong agreed, saying he would make the transfer that same day and guaranteeing that he wouldn't fail to pay. He even said that if he couldn't pay, the contractor could keep the land as compensation. While closing the deal, Suya suddenly appeared at the construction site, throwing herself at Xiao Yong and pretending to be worried. Inside, he sighed, realizing he now had another parasite to get rid of amid his plans to survive the apocalypse. Xiao Yu was trying to seduce Xiao Yong, betraying her friend to get close to him and take his property. Xiao Yong asked what she was doing there, while Cui Jing looked around impressed by the land and said the place was really beautiful, asking if he planned to build a villa there. Xiao Yong, serious, pushed Q Jing aside and made it clear that it was none of her business. Q Jing wondered why he was acting so strange that day, since normally just touching him would make him blush, but now he was rejecting her without hesitation. Xiao Yong simply ignored her and went to help the workers on the site, while Xiaoya thought to herself that she couldn't lose that golden opportunity. For her, Q Jing had already missed her chance. Now, she needed to find a way to keep that land for herself. Later, Xiao Yong returned home. He had secured a bank loan and had already advanced most of the payment to speed up the construction, but he knew he still needed a lot more money to buy supplies. That was when he remembered something important. The apocalypse was about to start. He thought he could sell the apartment where he was living to raise more funds, and decided that was exactly what he would do. A little later, someone knocked at the door. It was the old man who lived in the same building. Xiao Yong knew he had money saved up and that he had been trying to buy his apartment for a long time. This old man was always starting trouble to pressure him into selling, complaining about trash left out of place, and accusing him of all sorts of things. The old man started picking a fight, saying that Xiao Yong had gone out drinking in clubs the night before. Xiao Yong replied that he must be senile since he had gone to bed early, and even if he had gone out, it was none of his business. He then asked if the old man was doing all that just to buy the apartment. When the old man showed interest, Xiao Yong said he would sell, but with one condition: he would continue living there for 6 more months until his new house was ready, and he wanted $5 million paid up front. He made it clear there would be no deal without those terms. The old man, reluctant, ended up agreeing and signed the contract, warning Xiao Yong not to regret it later. Xiao Yong, meanwhile, ironically thought it was good the old man would be there waiting for death while he carried out his plans. This way, Xiao Yong managed to raise a total of $8 million, $3 million from the bank loan, and $5 million from selling the apartment. With the money in hand, he knew he needed to move to the next stage, buying supplies for an entire year. He also received the system reward for completing the first part of the mission, which was securing the land. Without wasting time, he went to the store to buy as much as he could. He pushed several carts full of items to the checkout, with so many purchases that everyone watched curiously, wondering what he was planning. Some even commented that he probably believed the rumors about the world ending. In the end, he managed to complete that part of the mission and gained another 10 points in the system. He thought that during the apocalypse it would be essential to have increased attributes and that the protagonist's box cost exactly 10 points. Without hesitation, he bought the box and received as a reward a level 1 spatial ring. With it, he now had a 500 square meter subspace where he could store anything without worrying about time, since food wouldn't spoil, frozen items would melt, and everything would stay preserved forever. He considered it the best possible reward. Next, the system showed him the new mission to secure 10 years' worth of supplies with a reward of 20 points. Meanwhile, the store manager Yang Tao showed up asking who was causing trouble. When he saw Xiaoyang, he immediately recognized him, and Xiaoyang also remembered him. They had gone to high school together. Yang Tao had been part of a gang that bullied others, and they had fought many times. Xiaoyang thought he hadn't backed down back then, and wouldn't now. Yang Tao ordered Xiaoyang to put everything back on the shelves, saying he would be arrested if he kept causing problems. Xiaoyang asked if he still thought they were in school, and said he was there to buy. Yang Tao replied that he doubted he had the money to pay for all that. The cashiers took over an hour scanning all the items, totaling $56,884. Yang Tao demanded payment, and Xiaoyang calmly and confidently swiped his card, proving he really could pay. As Yang Tao started to leave, Xiaoyang called him back, saying he needed to apologize first. Yang Tao tried to refuse, telling him not to take advantage of his goodwill, but the other customers in the store began recording the scene, saying he really had been rude without reason and needed to apologize. Xiaoyang said that if he apologized, he would buy 10 times more. Yang Tao, reluctant, ended up bowing his head and apologizing, while Xiaoyang told him not to be so irresponsible in the future and to never underestimate anyone again. Finally, Yang Tao asked why he was buying so much like that. Xiaoyang simply replied that it was none of his business and that he wanted to build up a big stockpile. Yang Tao, trying to recover, commented that maybe the store wouldn't be enough for that. Xiaoyang asked if he knew any place where he could buy more. Yang Tao said yes, and asked if he remembered Sean, explaining that he also dealt in large-scale sales. Later, Yang Tao showed up, saying he had found a big supplier for him. Xiaoyang thought Yang Tao was still the same as ever, a true lapdog trying to get his commission. He imagined that Sheng Zhe, this new contact, was probably just another criminal, but Xiaoyang didn't care as long as he could stock up. Some time later, they arrived at the huge warehouse full of goods. Sheng Zhou showed up, driving recklessly, almost running over Yang Tao himself. Xiaoyang observed the flashy driving style and showy clothes, thinking ironically that he must be a real nice guy, right? Sheng Zhe arrived smoking and blowing smoke in their faces, asking Yang Tao if this was the big customer. Yang Tao confirmed and explained that it was Xiaoyang, someone he knew from school. Sheng Zhe pretended to remember, blew even more smoke in Xiaoyang's face, and commented that the kid used to be pretty bold back in school. Then he mocked him, asking if the clothes he wore weren't fake brands, saying he hated people who pretended to be rich. Xiaoyang, out of patience, said that maybe that wasn't the right topic for the conversation. He was there to buy, not to argue, but Xingzhe wouldn't drop it and started fighting with Yang Tao, asking if this was really the big client or if he was just wasting his time. Yang Tao tried to calm things down, saying Xiaoyang really had money to buy. Xingzhe, experienced in the business, said he could recognize real customers from fakes. Xiaoyang thought to himself that his buyer's aura wasn't working, since even a low-level thug like Xingzhe couldn't take him seriously. Then Xingzhe grabbed him by the collar, demanding respect. Xiaoyang calm provoked him by saying he was just a pathetic little bottom feeder. Xingzhe flew into a rage at the insult and pushed Yang Tao aside to have a serious talk with Xiaoyang, threatening him by saying that if he didn't want to buy, he would have problems. Xiaoyang replied that he should first take off that questionable brand jacket and check the balance in his bank account. Xingzhe was surprised to find out that he had spent over $1 million in a single supermarket trip. Xiaoyang made it clear he wasn't there to play around. He said he could transfer $5 million at once, but wanted real supplies with a truck to deliver everything to his home. Xingzhe asked what kind of supplies he wanted. Xiaoyang replied that he needed rice, oil, salt, drinks, and any kind of long-lasting food. Xingzhe gladly agreed, thinking it was his lucky day. He planned to offload a bunch of near-expired food on Xingzhe to clear out his stagnant stock. Later, inside the huge warehouse, Xingzhe offered a 10% discount because of the large purchase. But Xiaoyang carefully inspected everything and noticed that many products were already expired. He made it clear that the price would depend on the quality of the items and was annoyed by the attempt to trick him. Xingzhe tried to justify himself by offering a 50% discount on the expired products, but Xiaoyang said he wouldn't pay for trash. He wanted to spend the full $5 million on quality goods. Even so, he said he would also take the expired items, but payment for those would come the following month. Xingzhe grew suspicious and asked why he wanted the expired items. Xiaoyang simply said that was none of his business and whispered that food close to expiring, or even expired, would be extremely valuable in a few days. When Xingzhe insisted on knowing what he meant by that, Xiaoyang told him to stop asking questions, saying he would send the delivery address, and that Xingzhe should just handle his part. Meanwhile, Xiaoyang got another business call, feeling more and more like an important man. He told Xingzhe to handle everything because he had other matters to take care of. As soon as he left, Yang Tao commented to Xingzhe that he had been an enormous client. Xingzhe agreed, but admitted he didn't understand how Xiaoyang was doing so well in life. At another time, Xiaoyang was closing another deal using the same house he had already sold to the pushy old man. He found a new buyer willing to pay a 400,000 deposit, even knowing he could only move in 3 months later. While signing the contract, Xiaoyang thought to himself how desperate the old man was, and asked him directly. The man explained that he urgently needed a house because his granddaughter was transferring schools. The location was perfect for them, and he pleaded not to raise the price. Xiaoyang reassured him that he wouldn't, even making it clear that he could if he wanted to. They signed the contract, and the old man thanked him, promising not to bother him anymore. Xiaoyang thought the man was honestly too kind-hearted, with a soft nature that wouldn't last in the apocalypse. Before the old man left, Xiaoyang even asked for his current address. Days later, he was handling his business while the renovation of the abandoned factory was nearly finished. He checked on the progress with the engineer, who explained it was about 70 to 80% complete. The doors were now fully reinforced, and the warehouse was clean and spacious. Xiaoyang was satisfied, saying it was great, and called Xingzhe to let him know he could already bring the supplies. Later, several trucks were unloading goods in the large factory warehouse. Many workers helped organize everything because Xiaoyang demanded speed to ensure it was all ready before the apocalypse started. The apocalypse was about to begin soon, and Xiaoyang was organizing the people, dividing the supplies into categories like food, vegetables, fish, and meat. The work took the whole day, and only finished late in the afternoon. When everything was ready, Xiaoyang realized he had finally completed his mission to gather supplies for 10 years. While checking the system store, he noticed there was a new, different box there. Besides the level 1 box for the Apocalypse Farmer, there was now also a box called Skill Awakening. He felt very lucky to get it before the apocalypse began. Without hesitation, he bought the Awakening box and obtained the mine's I Level 1, a skill that allowed him to detect people's hostility toward him. Xiaoyang considered it extremely useful for the apocalypse, since now he could know who to trust and who not to trust. Soon after, a new mission appeared for him called Armed to the Teeth, which required him to arm himself as much as possible. The promised reward was another 10 points and a random item. For Xiaoyang, it was perfect because he was already planning to do exactly that. Later that night, he went to the black market. He found it curious how people acted there, as if it were any normal market. No one wore a hood or tried to hide their face, even with people selling drugs and weapons in plain sight. Among the customers was this guy again, this time negotiating a jade bracelet to trick Kuei Jing into thinking it was genuine, even though it was probably smuggled, stolen, or fake. Xiaoyang, who was buying weapons, watched with disdain, thinking that even he used to do shady deals in the past. He thought it was a shame Kuei Jing might fall for a trick like that. Staying focused on his goal, Xiaoyang finally found what he wanted. Weapons. He examined the knives displayed at the small shop, but asked the seller if there wasn't anything heavier. In response, the man tossed him only a knife-sharpening stone, saying if he wanted something heavier, he should sharpen it himself. Xiaoyang wasn't satisfied and insisted he needed something more powerful. The seller, suspicious, asked if he was there to cause trouble. At that moment, Xiaoyang transferred $200,000 via the shop's QR code, saying he was really there to buy. The seller then had another man watch the shop and took Xiaoyang to a more private area. There he showed him a simple revolver, offering it for $2,000, saying the ammunition was cheap. But Xiaoyang refused, explaining it was no good for him. He wanted a real weapon. He explained that the $200,000 payment was just a down payment, about 10% of the total amount he planned to spend. He wanted to buy $2 million worth of weapons and ammunition. The seller, surprised and cautious, asked what he did for work. Xiaoyang replied that he usually didn't handle trivial matters himself and that his subordinates did it. But now he was going through changes and didn't want the seller asking any more questions. The seller agreed and asked for a moment. He locked the door, closed the windows, and said that Xiaoyang had found the right man for that kind of deal. Whispering, he asked him to write a list of what he wanted. He also gave him an address and told him to go there at midnight the following day to complete the transaction, bringing all the money. Later, when leaving the shop, Xiaoyang was treated with a lot of respect by the seller. He then saw the same guy from before at the black market to negotiate another item and began reflecting on the people he had dealt with. He noticed there were always familiar faces in the black market, people trading everything from weapons to fake jewelry. He knew many bought those fake jewels just to trick others, like Jing. Xiaoyang took the opportunity to test his mind's eye. He checked the seller and saw he was calm and pleased with the sale. But when he looked at another buyer staring at him arrogantly, he clearly saw the hostility icon over his head. Xiaoyang found the ability extremely useful, since now he knew who posed a threat. Watching the fake jewelry deal, Xiaoyang thought it was truly despicable how many people were willing to cheat others without guilt. The shopkeeper noticed the tense atmosphere and asked if he knew that customer. Xiaoyang said yes, that he was more like an enemy to him. The seller promised to teach the guy a lesson. Xiaoyang, however, asked them not to kill him because he had plans for him. After that, the shop's crew went after the hostile buyer, who panicked and tried to talk his way out of it. In the end, he was thrown out of the black market, bruised and covered in boot marks, grumbling that it was all Xiaoyang's fault, and that one day he would get revenge. 2 days later, at Xiaoyang's base, he finally received his weapons. The mission armed to the teeth was completed, earning him 10 more points in the system for a total of 20 points. He now had pistols, submachine guns, lots of ammunition, and even received an extra reward, a level 2 physical enhancement potion. Xiaoyang was very excited about this, since the potion had twice the effect of those available in the store. Without hesitation, he used it on himself. Checking his system, he knew a normal adult man had around 5 physique points. With 2 more points, his strength increased by 40%. To improve even further, he bought another physical enhancement potion, this time a level 1. That way, he reached 8 physique points, giving him 60% more strength than an average person. He decided to test it. He grabbed a steel bar and with a single kick, not only bent it, but also drove it into the wall. Xiaoyang thought with satisfaction that with his strength, he wouldn't lose to anyone in a fight nor fear zombies. Since the weapons didn't take up much space, he stored them all in his spatial ring. He reflected that the day after tomorrow would be the first day of the apocalypse and mentally reviewed what else he needed to do. That was when he remembered an old man who had always been kind to him. Even after everything he had been through, knowing how treacherous humans could be, Xiaoyang couldn't ignore someone like that. He decided to send some essential supplies to give him a better chance of surviving. It was a way to repay the favor for having been funded by him.